The opening exchange isn't about facts, it's about control. The judge is quietly testing consistency, not just answers. The mother presents stability. 1 year in the same home, shared bills, no visible violence. On paper, it sounds functional, but the structure itself raises flags.
If Asher were to come home to live with you, who would take on the parenting responsibilities?
I would.
In the previous final for Delphinia, did you talk about that all the adults in the home parent the children that are there?
That are currently here, yes.
And is it correct that every adult in the home has CPS or criminal history?
I'm not sure what Hawk has. I don't know the details of Ashley's stuff, and I don't really know the details of Tyler's stuff either. That everything that they've been involved with or anything like that has been prior to me even so much as meeting them.
Is it not important to know what their criminal and CPS history is before bringing in a child to the home?
Given what I've seen with with how they are with the children in the home currently, I don't see any issues with them being around my child.
But you don't know what their history is.
I believe that if there was anything there, then there has been change made, and the only CPS history that I know of has all been written off on Tyler's end because he either didn't have the children, they weren't in his custody at the time of CPS cases, or they had nothing on him to begin with. He's currently got custody of the 2 children in the home now, primary and sole custody of the children, and has had it since 2023, as I want to say is the year that he received them, and their order was renewed.
Okay, so who's on probation or parole in the home?
Myself and Ashley.
Okay, and you don't know why Ashley is?
I don't concern myself with other people's business for the most part. That's her case. I didn't really dig too much into it.
Okay. And from the time that you moved into this home, CPS let you know, hey, we're concerned about the history of the people in this home.
CPS history has
No, that's not the question I'm asking. From the time you moved in, did your CPS caseworker let you know we are concerned about the history of the people you are living with?
After the fact, yes, they had no quarrels until it was all 4 of us living together with the 2 children. There was no concerns until after I had moved into this home, into this location.
So, but once you moved into this home and said, this is where I'm going to be living, this is where I want to bring my child or children back to, they said, we have concerns about that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
After
And
I had only been living with Hawk and Ashley, just the 2.
objection, non-responsive.
Yeah, and Ms. Helms, it's really hard for the court reporter if you're talking over Ms. Zavala, so try to be sure she's finished asking her question before you start to answer. All right, I'll sustain the objection. You can ask another question.
On June 27th of 2025, you completed a psychological evaluation, correct?
Yes.
And at that point, you told the evaluator that they're concerned with who I'm living with.
Yes.
Okay. And the psychological evaluation was filed in Delphinia's court case, correct?
I believe so.
And the concerns stated in the evaluation were that there should be no unsupervised contact with the children until it's determined that the home is safe, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, it said her recent transition from homelessness to cohabitation with a new partner of 4 months warrants verification of a safe, stable home environment before unsupervised contact is considered. Correct?
That would be correct.
Okay. And so after hearing that, did you then ask the people that you lived with about their history?
It was none of my business still. There were children already living in the home, and
Okay.
CPS
Objection, non-responsive to the rest of the answer.
Sustained.
There was extensive discussion in the final regarding Delphinia about your support system and who was going to help you with Delphinia, correct?
Yes.
And those were the people in the home.
Yes.
And were you asked if one of the people in the home has had their rights terminated to a child?
If you're concerning Tyler, he had no choice. It was that or go to jail for non-payment of child support. I know about that case.
Okay, so is there someone in the home whose rights have been terminated to a child?
Yes.
After with this hearing, you are asking to bring Asher to this same home that was discussed with Delphinia.
Yes.
Okay. And you still to this day have no further information about the adults who live in the home.
I mind my business whenever it comes to something that concerns other people, especially if it does not involve myself.
Is it your child's business as to who they grow up with? Is it your child's business as to who is helping to care for them?
Yes, as long as they are helping and taking care of them, as the children in the home currently are being taken care of as well.
So the only new information you have after it was determined that this was a huge source of concern is that now Tyler's been arrested.
Yes, that's the
And-
only new information.
And even after that arrest, there's been no discussion with Tyler about what those charges are about.
This section exposes a gap between intention and action. She claims she would do anything to protect children, even referencing her own trauma. That's emotionally powerful, but legally weak. Courts don't reward intention. They demand preventive behavior.
We haven't really talked about it because he's not he's spoken to a lawyer and that's what he's been told.
So you would do anything and everything, hold on. You would do anything and everything for your child other than determine the background of the people they're living with.
And my stepchildren, whose father you're speaking of. If I had to protect them, if I felt there was a need to protect them from even him, then I would do so. I was a victim myself. I will not tolerate it happening to any child, blood related or not. I may not even know the child. If I see it happening, I will do what I need to prevent it, to stop it, to end it.
So if the recommendations in the psychological is no unsupervised contact until the home is determined to be safe, would it be important for the people in the home to cooperate with CPS?
And they have. to the extent that they have been asked to.
So has Tyler drug screened?
Yes.
When did he drug screen?
I'm not sure the exact date, but it was after CPS had come to the children's schools and talked to them both without him having been notified of it.
So
And then
in
she
Delphinia's,
sent
hold
it.
on.
Hang on.
In Delphinia's final, you were asked about Tyler, and the question was, but Tyler has refused to drug screen or do any kind of services, and your answer was yes, correct?
He did not want to prevent me from getting my child back sooner than later. He was concerned that it
hold
would
on.
postpone and lengthen my case.
Why would him participating in a drug screen lengthen your case?
Because they told him that they had other services that they would probably want him to do. They never got back in contact with him about doing a drug screen. They did not get back in contact about any other services either. They have his phone number.
He actually refused to work any services, is that correct?
Other than taking a drug screen, that is, yes, he is fine with doing anything that needs to be done as long as it does not postpone or lengthen my case. That is what he told them. And that is all that he told them. He did not say he was going to outright refuse. He said he didn't want to participate if it was going to cause my case to lengthen.
I want to switch gears a little bit. Mr. Barfield was asking you if you've passed all your drug screens, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Drugs have never been an issue in this case. Is that correct?
Correct.
So at the time that you assaulted your daughter, you weren't on drugs, correct?
I was 2 months pregnant.
But you weren't on drugs.
No.
It was a mental health issue at that point.
Yeah. I would want to label it that. And at the time, I found out 2 weeks later that I was miscarrying one of my twins. Asher was to be an identical
Objection,
twin.
Your Honor, non-responsive.
Sustain.
So the issue, well, look. The issue in both cases with Delphinia and Asher is your behavior while you are sober. That you've assaulted and not been protective while you were sober. Correct?
I'm not sure you understand the effects of mental health.
Okay, Ms. Helms, that's not, and that isn't what she asked you. So, and she's asking the questions. So if you don't understand the question, you can tell her that, but it was pretty straightforward. Ms. Zavala, you can repeat your question.
Hope to remember how I worded it. Your assaultive behavior and non-protective behavior occurred while you were sober.
Yes.
Correct. During the course of both of these cases, the need was for mental health services.
Yes.
So the day before the final for Delphinia, you took your psychological evaluation, correct?
I took one of 3 or 4 of them that I was given. Yes.
And the day or sometime after this final was started, that's when you finally went back to TPC to do your evaluation.
A second evaluation.
Because you were withdrawn from the program for no-shows, correct?
I decided to drop out on my own because I was not receiving counseling and I did not want that to be used against me in my prior case. And it,
After 3 no-shows that you testified to in the previous final, correct?
yes,
Is it still your opinion that it would be okay for an adult to bite a child if it was in self-defense?
I'm not even gonna respond to that one because I'm done with that topic.
Okay,
We're-
Ms. Helms, not up to you. You will respond to the question, or I'll hold you in contempt of court. So you can answer the
Just for
question.
I was going to object to relevance, Your Honor.
Okay, overruled. Ms. Helms, you will answer the question. Do you remember the question?
I bit my child to prevent her from hurting herself, not in self-defense because she was hitting and doing whatever to me. I did it to protect her head from hitting the ground from the height that she was at.
Okay, in the last final, you were asked whether it would ever be inappropriate for a caregiver adult to bite a 3-year-old, and your answer was that it was okay if it was in self-defense.
The case shifts from one man to the entire environment. The questioning becomes sharper, almost surgical. Every adult in the home carries unknown or concerning history, and she openly admits she hasn't investigated it.
Is that still your opinion?
Or in a better of two evils, in which that was the case of that.
Okay, that's not the question she asked you, Ms. Helms. She's asking you. So, Ms. Helms, the question was whether or not it was still your opinion that that's okay to do in self-defense. It wasn't about, is it okay to do to keep a child from falling? You just please listen to what she's asking you and just answer that. Do you need her to ask the question again?
No, Your Honor.
What's your answer then?
In a case where it is needed,
No, her question is it your opinion that that would be appropriate, an appropriate self-defense response?
I don't know.
All right, Ms. Zavala, you can ask another question. And it appeared it was Ms. Har that we lost, and I've let her back in. Okay.
I will pass the witness at this time.
All right, Ms. Powell?
I do have a few more. Ms. Helms, when the investigator came and spoke to you after Asher's birth, she discussed quite a bit of the case involving Delphenia. Do you recall that?
No.
You don't recall discussing Delphinia's case when Asher was born?
I had literally just given birth and everything was just being thrown at me at that moment.
You don't recall telling the investigator that you pled guilty to child abuse, but you feel it was just a misunderstanding?
I don't remember half of that conversation.
Was it a misunderstanding that you abused Delphenia?
Okay, you need to answer the question.
As I said, I don't remember half of the conversation.
My question is, was it a misunderstanding that you abused a 3-year-old?
Ms. Helms?
All I know is I pled, and that's all. I pled to it.
Ms. Helms, what happens if Asher is placed in your home and at 3 years old, he decides to throw a temper tantrum?
I'm going to be better equipped for it.
But yet you will not sit here and take responsibility for your actions against Delphenia today. Is that correct?
I know what I did and what I did not do.
I pass the witness.
Ms. Barfield?
I don't have any further questions, Your Honor, for this witness.
All right, Ms. Zavala, anything further?
Nothing further at this time.
All right. Okay, Ms. Powell, who is your next witness?
Heidi Elliott.
Okay, do you anticipate she'll be lengthy?
I do.
Okay. I'm gonna give everybody just a really short little break right now. I may have to take a longer break here a little later. Continue with Ms. Elliott.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you all for your patience. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Elliott, have you had the opportunity to review the pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and we won't go through each picture individually, but were you familiar with the allegations against Miss Helms in regards to the child Delphenia?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you familiar with the criminal indictment that had been entered into evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Were the pictures that you reviewed consistent with the child being slapped in the head?
Yes, ma'am.
Are the pictures consistent with the child being pulled across the ground?
Yes, ma'am.
Were there bite marks on the child?
Yes, ma'am.
Had Miss Helms ever told you previously that she bit Delphenia to prevent her from falling?
She did say that she bit her, but not from falling.
Okay, was that the first time you heard that?
Yes.
When you were working the case involving Delphenia, did you have conversations with Miss Helms regarding what had happened to Delphenia?
Yes.
What did Miss Helms tell you?
That she was frustrated because Delphina was throwing a tantrum.
Okay. Now, have you been present during testimony today?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you hear the questions for Miss Helms regarding services?
Yes, ma'am.
Has Miss Helms worked all of her services at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you still have a concern with Asher returning to her care?
I do.
Why?
Because of the CPS history in Tyler's indictment.
Hey, how often do you speak with Miss Helms?
Once a month.
The focus shifts from environment to her own history, and it's brutal. She admits to assaultive behavior while sober, immediately eliminating drugs as an excuse. That locks the issue into mental health and impulse control.
In speaking with Miss Helms, have you formed an opinion as to whether she learned from her services?
Objection, speculation.
Your Honor, she's the caseworker. That they work the services, they can give an opinion as to whether the parent has learned from them.
I'll overrule the objection. She can testify what she thinks about it.
I do believe that parenting part, she's not being protective of Asher if he was to be returned home, staying in that situation.
Have you had conversations with Ms. Helms regarding Mr. Seal?
Yes, ma'am, and she would comment it's irrelevant to her case.
Okay, did you try to explain to Ms. Helms why it would be relevant to the case?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was her response?
She just didn't, she still believes it's irrelevant.
Okay, have you had conversations with Ms. Helms regarding the other people in the household?
All I've mentioned was prior CPS history with the other housemates.
Okay, was Ms. Helms receptive to those conversations?
Yes, ma'am. She said it doesn't involve her.
Okay, so her statement, would you say that her statements to you then are consistent with what she's told the court today?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask Tyler to drug screen?
I did.
And would he drug screen for you?
No, he did not.
Okay. Would it have been important for you to be able to check out all the people in the household?
Yes, ma'am.
Have any of them been cooperative with you?
I've never talked to any of them because they've always been at work while I went by there.
Did you ever make attempts to speak with any of them?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Because I haven't been able to see them.
Now, you've heard testimony that there are 2 other children in the home. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are those children?
I do not know their ages.
Okay, and are they young children or are they older children?
I believe one's a middle school age and the other one's a elementary school age.
Okay, what's the difference in those children?
Okay, wait a minute. I've got,
It's Miss Helms speaking, Judge.
all right, Ms. Helms, right now is not a time for you to talk. Nobody's asking you a question. She's asking the caseworker a question. What is your, do you have a
The
question
age-
for me?
She was asking what the ages of the children are, and she doesn't know their exact ages. I was willing to give that to her. For her.
Okay, it's not, it isn't your time to testify, so just, she'll answer. Whether she answers correctly or incorrectly isn't your issue. If your attorney thinks it's something he needs to bring up, he will. All right. Ms. Powell, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Miss Elliott, can you distinguish why, if there's 2 children in the home, it's not safe for Asher to be placed in the home?
Because Asher is still he's 15 months old and he's nonverbal. So if something was to happen to him, he's not able to tell someone. The older children are able to speak up when something's done to them.
Okay. Where is Asher currently placed?
He is in the Austin area.
Okay, and is he in the home with his older sister?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had the opportunity to see Asher at that home?
Yes, ma'am. I visited with him in person the second week of March.
Okay, and how is he doing in the home?
He's doing excellent. Him and Delphina has a strong bond. They play together. They get along well. It was fun watching them together.
Okay, and is Delphina a full sibling to Asher?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, are you aware of some medical issues that Asher has?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and has the foster mother kept you apprised of those medical issues?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is she adequately dealing with those issues?
Yes.
Okay, and she's actually present today to testify in regards to that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are you asking the court today to terminate the parental rights of the father Keith Meeks as to Asher Meeks based upon his affidavit of voluntary relinquishment?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you waiving all other grounds in regards to termination?
Yes.
Are you asking the court today to terminate the parental rights of Tessa Helms as to the child Asher Meeks?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you asking that the department be named permanent managing conservator of the child Asher Meeks pending an adoption?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you believe those requests are in the best interest of this child?
I do.
I pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Barfield?
Thank you, Judge. Miss Elliott, now have you been in Miss Helms' home?
Yes, I have.
On how many occasions?
Once a month.
Okay, and when you visited the home once a month, did that appear to be appropriate home?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in regards to the age of the children, if I said they were like 9 and 13, would that seem about right to you?
About right. Yes, sir.
Okay. And in regards to that only being relevant is based on what your question to Miss Powell was about their ages, and if something happened to the home, they're verbal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, in regards to Tessa, has she kept communication with you regularly?
Yes, she has.
Okay. And she did go get that new TPC evaluation as ordered by the court, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, and she did seek counseling on her own, did she not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And she attended several counseling sessions based on your information from prior hearings. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so do you know the exact CPS history of the other people in the home?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And were other than Mr. Seal, I think we've already heard testimony on, were the other two individuals, did they have any children terminated?
I believe Ashley has, but Hawk does not have any children.
Okay. All right. And but as to the children in the home, they obviously have not had the parents of those children have not had their rights terminated to those children.
The pressure shifts to credibility. She struggles with memory, deflects responsibility, and leans on confusion when confronted with prior admissions. That's a dangerous mix in court. Forgetting details might sound human, but combined with a guilty plea for child abuse, it looks like avoidance.
Correct.
Okay. Did you observe those children in the home?
No, sir, when I would visit, they would be in school or get about time to get out of school.
Okay. All right. And in regards to employment, Ms. Helms has had consistent employment throughout the case, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And transportation has not been an issue getting to where she needed to do in regards to working services. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the primary concern of the department is obviously the Tyler Seal situation. Is that fair?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And really the people living in the home, you believe that individual could pose a potential danger. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. And okay. All right. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Zavala?
Miss Elliott, you were present for the final hearing regarding Delphinia.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you hear the testimony that mom gave regarding her roommates and whether they would cooperate with CPS?
Yes, ma'am.
At that time, did she say definitively that none of them would cooperate with CPS?
Yes, ma'am.
At any point after that hearing, did she come back and say, now they're willing to cooperate?
No, ma'am.
So you didn't seek them out because you had been told very clearly that they were not going to participate.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've never been told anything different.
Correct.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Powell?
I have no more questions for Miss Elliott.
Ms. Elliott, I've just got a couple quick questions. The other gentleman that lives in the home, I wasn't sure of the spelling of his name.
Hawk,
Yeah, the last name,
um,
why,
Will,
Weil, or, I'm looking for it in my notes real quick, Wilkie. Was it Wilkie?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
All right. Were you ever able to learn any substantial information about Mr. Wilkie?
No, ma'am.
Did the department run any criminal history on him?
Yes, ma'am, and nothing popped up.
All right, was there any CPS history on Mr. Wilkie?
No, ma'am.
Do you know what age person he is?
I do not know his age.
All right. Did Ms. Helms ever talk to you about what the room arrangements would look like if Asher came home?
Yeah, she said that he would share a room with Tyler's son.
Who is 13 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you have any concerns about that?
No, ma'am.
All right. Okay, thank you. All right, anybody have any further questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Helms, I don't know what your question is. Do you need to speak with your attorney or?
No, it's Wilk, WILK -Murphy. That's
Murphy.
that's the last name. Hawk
Okay.
and last name.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. All right then. Ms. Powell, any other witnesses today?
Petitioner calls Lydia Lindsay.
All right, Ms. Lindsay, do you happen to have video capability?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, if you will, please raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you'll give on trial today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Ms. Powell, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Miss Lindsay, would you please state your name?
Lydia Lindsay.
And Miss Lindsay, are you familiar with the little boy by the name of Asher Meeks?
Yes.
How are you familiar with Asher?
He's placed in my home.
Okay, and how long has Asher been in your home?
About 5 months.
Okay, and do you also have Asher's older sibling in the home?
Yes.
And is that Delphenia Meeks?
Yes.
Okay, and I want to talk about Delphenia for just a minute. How long has Delphenia been in your home?
6 months.
Okay, and are you going through the process to adopt Delphenia?
Yes.
Okay, and if the court terminates the parental rights in regards to Asher, is it your intention to move forward with adopting Asher as well?
Yes.
Now, does Asher have some medical issues?
He does.
And I kind of want to break these down, so I don't want you to get too narrative with me. What type of medical issues does Asher have?
He has dysphagia, which is a feeding disorder. He's being evaluated for potential sleep apnea. He's getting genetic testing to see if he has the same genetic disorder as Delphenia. And he's being monitored for potential autism.
Let's talk about the dysphagia. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to jot it down and I couldn't read my own handwriting. What is dysphagia?
So he had a swallow study done recently on April 7th. And the swallow study revealed that he is unable to swallow any kind of liquids without some of it going into his lungs, which can cause pneumonia. And so he has been coughing pretty much since he was placed with us, which is why we requested the swallow study.
The caseworker's testimony shifts the entire narrative from opinion to professional assessment. She confirms the physical abuse evidence aligns with injuries, slapping, dragging, biting. That alone anchors the past in reality. But the bigger issue is forward risk.
Okay, and so what kind of care do you have to take in regards to Asher for the dysphagia?
So everything that is thinner than honey consistency has to be mixed with a special thickener solution to be at least a honey thickness, so that he can swallow it safely. Also, he can only be sitting up while drinking any kind of liquids and has to be closely monitored and paced so that he doesn't drink too quickly.
Okay,
And he has to use a special straw cup.
okay. And what happens if liquid gets into his lungs?
He could develop pneumonia. He also will be needing a repeat swallow study every 4 to 6 months to evaluate if he's making progress. And we'll be following up with ENT and pulmonology to see how he's progressing, and we'll be receiving feeding therapy to help with this as well.
Okay, and how often is he getting feeding therapy, or has that not started yet?
He was evaluated last week for it. It'll be a combination of feeding and speech therapy, and it will be twice a week.
Okay. And are you having to take him to therapy, or are they come into your home?
They come to the home.
Now, and I couldn't read my handwriting. What was the second issue that you?
He's being evaluated for potential sleep apnea.
Okay, and why is he being evaluated for sleep apnea?
Because they're in putting him to sleep, I have noticed that sometimes he has long breaks between breaths, and according to my conversations with Ms. Helms during visits, also there seems to be a family history of it, so we decided to get him evaluated for it.
Okay. And what is the risk in regards to the sleep apnea?
Well, if he has too long of pauses, it can affect brain health for lack of oxygen during sleep.
Is he hooked up to any monitors or anything right now to monitor that while he sleeps?
No, not yet. That will depend on the results of the sleep study.
And when is he having the sleep study?
It is scheduled for April 26th.
And you said Delphenia has a genetic disorder?
Yes.
Okay, what is the genetic disorder?
It is called ZBTB7A related disorder.
Okay. For those of us who have no idea, what is that?
So it's a mutation in one of her genes, which would you like the features of the disorder that go with it?
That would be great, please.
Mm-hmm. So it's associated with macrocephaly, which is large head size, intellectual disability, autism, overgrowth of the lymphoid and adenoid tissues, frequent upper airway infections. Some people with it have seizures, some congenital heart defects, and hematological and immune system issues.
Okay, and is Asher displaying some of these characteristics?
He is.
What characteristics is Asher displaying?
Displaying symptoms of autism and possible intellectual disability. The overgrowth of the adenoid tissue potentially would be causing the sleep apnea. Frequent upper airway infections, and possible immune issues.
Okay, and when is he scheduled to have the genetic testing?
It is scheduled for May 22nd.
Okay. Now, Asher is about 15 months old, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that early for an autism diagnosis?
It is.
Okay, so why are they looking at an autism diagnosis right now?
The pediatrician is monitoring because he, at 15 months, still doesn't have any words, anything like mama or milk or that you would expect at this age. He also has a lot of hand flapping, which is common in autism, and high sensory seeking behaviors.
So in checking for the autism, that is kind of related to the genetic disorder that we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. And how often is Asher having to go to doctors?
I would say on average, we're probably at the doctor's 2 to 3 times a month.
And has that been consistent with the time that you've had him?
Yes, sometimes more than others.
Okay. Are you able to get him to all those appointments?
Yes.
And is that something that you are willing to do in the long term?
Yes.
Okay. And how would you describe the relationship between Asher and his older sister?
They have a very sweet relationship with each other and are definitely becoming bonded with each other.
I pass the witness.
Mr. Barfield?
Thank you. Ma'am, I meant to ask Miss Elliott this question, but you may be able to answer it. How often has Miss Helms been visiting or seen Asher?
For a while, we were doing twice a week, and recently we have been doing once a week visits.
Okay. Have those visits been going well?
Yeah, they've been going pretty well.
Okay. And where do those visits occur?
They're virtual.
Okay. And has Miss Helms attended those visits regularly?
Most of them, yes.
Okay. Thank you. And so there's just a lot of unknown medical with Asher. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, did you have to take any special classes or training to take care of those medical issues for these two kids or anything?
I'm a registered nurse, so no.
Okay. Well, answered that question. Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't have any further questions of this witness.
Mr. Barfield knows all about RNs.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Zavala.
I believe that Ms. Powell may have covered all the issues that I needed to. Let me look through.
The defense tries to rebuild ground by focusing on positives: stable housing, employment, transportation, completed services. And technically, those boxes are checked, but the court isn't deciding if she's functional. It's deciding if she's safe. That distinction matters.
Have there been a few missed visits in the last month or so where mom confirmed she was going to attend and then did not?
A few, yes.
I have no further questions.
Okay. All right, Ms. Powell, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Barfield, anything else?
I think I do need to ask my client a couple of questions based on the testimony of the last witness.
Okay, but not for Ms. Lindsay.
No, not for Ms. Lindsay.
All right, counsel, is Ms. Lindsay free to go at this time unless she just wants to stay? It's a,
No
I
objection.
leave that up to her, but
I have no objection.
No objection.
No objection.
okay. Ms. Lindsay, it's up to you. You're free. You're certainly free to leave at this time. I suspect you're a very busy woman, but you're also free to stay. So whatever you want to do. All right. And thank you for taking such great care of the kids. All right, then. Ms.
Arrest.
Powell, rest. All right. Mr. Barfield, you wish to recall your client then?
I do.
All right, Ms. Helms, if you'll unmute, you're still under oath.
Yes, ma'am.
May I proceed?
You may.
Thank you. Ms. Helms, were you aware of the medical issues with Asher?
Yes, I did discuss that, sister had,
I'll get to that. Just okay. Okay. Now, my question to you is, Do you believe you could take care of making sure Asher got to doctor's appointments and got whatever medical treatment that he requires?
Yes.
Would you be willing, if need be, to work with doctors and nurses to learn, if you didn't know, how to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, have your visits, I mean, they've been virtual, but do you believe they've been going good with Asher?
Yes.
Okay. And do you believe that he is being taken care of by Miss Lindsay well?
Yes.
Okay. But do you think that you would have any issue with these serious medical conditions, with transportation or anything like that, or cooperation with the doctors?
I would not have any issues now.
Okay. All right. Those are all the questions that I have at this time, Your Honor.
All right, then, Ms. Powell, you have any further questions for Ms. Helms?
I have no questions.
All right, and Ms. Zavala.
Yes, Ms. Helms, back when Delphinia was born, she spent about 3 weeks in the hospital. Is that correct?
Yes.
And she was diagnosed with a heart murmur and then hyperpulmonary tension.
Yes.
And then in our final, in that hearing, we identified, or we talked about any medical visits for Delphinia. Is it correct that you did not take Delphinia to 1-year-old well check, 1.5 years, 2, no well checks? Is that correct?
That be correct. We had no transportation.
Okay. And at this point, even when at 3 years old, Delphinia was completely nonverbal, you still weren't able to get her to the doctor.
We had no vehicle and we had no transportation, and he would not allow for me to go by myself because he was afraid something would happen to me, or like somebody would try to do something on said transportation if we were to get something else. He didn't like leaving me alone with my second cousin who happens to be male.
And currently, your boyfriend Tyler is the one with the truck,
Yes.
but he may potentially be going to jail.
If that happens, then I would still find, like, in the Amarillo area, there are multiple modes of transportation that can and will be able to get me to and from places, especially given that Medicaid has specific transportation that is made available to people or parents who have children that are on Medicaid.
And in fact, where you lived previously with Delphinia, there were doctor's offices within walking distance, correct?
Not from where I was, not in the neighborhood that I was in.
I pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Barfield, anything further?
I don't believe I have anything further.
All right, any further witnesses, sir?
No, ma'am. I rest.
All right. Okay, Ms. Zavala, any witnesses to call today?
I have no witnesses, Your Honor. I rest.
Okay, Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation to make?
I do, Your Honor. At this time, I am not seeing any changes in mother's behavior or approach to her parenting. The only changes that we have now compared to our previous final is the child in question is younger by a significant amount is still nonverbal. And we have identified for well over a year issues that needed to be addressed with the safety of the people that this child might be living with. And there's been zero cooperation or intent to change any of that. I do not believe it's in Asher's best interest to be placed back in or placed in this home at all. And I do believe it is in Asher's best interest that the parental rights be terminated at this time and that he be allowed to remain with his sister.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ball. All right, counsel, let me just ask, anybody wish to make any argument in the case?
Your Honor, I feel compelled to make a brief argument, Your Honor, on behalf of my client, just to point out that she has completed her services when the court did allow some leeway to go get the TPC evaluation, which we dealt with a few months ago. She did go do that. She did seek counseling. She's testified that she has.
Sorry, the video got cut off, but I did hear the ending, and the judge says that she's going to email everybody later what her conclusion will be, whether or not Tessa loses custody. And the only time that she does that is when she's intending to terminate the rights of a parent, because I've been watching her for 2 years, and whenever she tells them to their face that she's terminating their rights, a lot of the times the mother will start bawling and crying and like beg to see their kid one last time. And I think she just doesn't want to deal with that anymore. So if, in my conclusion, she's terminating the rights of this mother because
the final stretch introduced the child's medical complexity, and it quietly seals the case. This isn't a standard custody situation. The child requires constant monitoring, specialized feeding, multiple therapies, and ongoing evaluations. The foster caregiver demonstrates structured, informed care backed by medical knowledge and consistency. In contrast, the mother offers willingness, not proven capability. Then the past resurfaces again, missed medical care for her older child, even when serious conditions existed. That contradiction is fatal. You can't claim readiness now when history shows neglect under less pressure. The closing recommendation doesn't rely on emotion. It's built on unchanged behavior, unsafe environment, and elevated child needs. At this point, the decision isn't about giving her another chance. It's about preventing another failure.